and welcome back to the Legal Leverage podcast. We are hijacking the podcast today because your main host, Babs, is away and she is letting us have our very own episode. So it's Shannon here today, coming at you with our brand new colleague, Laura. We're doing a bit of an interview style podcast today, kind of like a celebrity. So, Laura, you're getting the celebrity treatment today. And we're doing this to get to know a bit more about our lovely new colleague, Laura. She joined the team not long ago. So we thought it'd be really nice to get to know some fun facts, what you've been up to, and kind of get to know a bit about what you do for Jameson Law. So how are you today, Laura?
I'm excellent, thank you. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. And I'm going to ask the classic question, and for some reason I ask this every single time. How is the weather where you are today?
You know what, actually, we've got rid of the rain finally, so a bit of sun today, which is great. How
Well,
about
do you know
you?
what? Oh, it's awful here. It's raining. I was worried that you could hear the awful rain behind me in the window, but I'm hoping that you can't. So sorry if you can hear that awful rain, guys. Classic weather chat. But without further ado, let's get into this celebrity interview that we're doing with you today. So are you okay for me to go ahead and ask you some questions?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. Cool. Well, let's start off super easy with who are you and what is your role at Jameson Law?
Sure. So I'm Laura. I am a lawyer here at Jameson Law. So basically, I started beginning of July, and I support Babs in providing legal services for our clients, like reviewing and drafting contracts, website terms and conditions, all the fun kind of contracts Babs talks about on her podcast and her Instagram stories and stuff. Oh, and also registering trademarks, which is really exciting.
Registering trademarks is a fun one. And I think that you have learned so much already kind of working alongside us and you're doing really well. So it's great to know about kind of what you would do for us here at Jameson Law. Cool. Let's move on to the next question. What did you do prior to joining the team here at Jameson Law? What kind of is your journey in the legal world?
Yeah, so I've worked in property for the last 6 years as a conveyancer, inside and outside of London. And what I find about property is that it's quite similar to what we do here. Everything is a contract. Property is basically one contract after another, working with so many clients, sticking to deadlines. So the transition between property and commercial wasn't that different, apart from the brand protection stuff, which obviously is quite new.
Of course. Well, you know, we love a contract here. We love it. The podcast, we talk about contracts all the time. We just had the last 2 episodes on contract, so it's a good one. So yeah, that's really interesting. So what kind of made you make the move from property to kind of the business, legal, or the commercial world?
Yeah, so I've seen and been aware of Jameson Law for quite some time. I'm one of those people who religiously watches her Instagram stories, and I've kind of watched from the sidelines Bab build this fun and energetic, disruptive law firm. And when the opportunity presented itself to join, I jumped at it because ultimately, your values or, Babs's values kind of very much align with my own, making law accessible for everyone, transparent, jargon-free, straightforward, basically.
Yeah, and I think you can totally tell that from the kind of offset of you joining the team here that our values so align, and you're the perfect fit for the team. So
Thank
it's
you.
really great to have you. So let's move on to our next question. What do you like about working for a kind of smaller law firm so far, anyway?
Sure, yeah. So the difference I've found mostly is that I've met everybody. The first day, everybody was on a Teams call, whereas, working in a big law firm, you can spend a year and not meet everybody, or talk to them even. So I love that part of it. You can kind of build relationships with your colleagues in a way that you couldn't really in a much bigger firm. What else? There's no hierarchy either. So it's very much everyone's involved. It's shoulder to the wheel kind of situation. And whatever, we have views or suggestions or ideas are always considered, and you have a chance to really kind of contribute to the company.
I completely agree. That's something that kind of makes me, that's something if I'm telling people, about who I work for, I work for Jameson Law, one of the first things that always comes up to me is that we work as a unit. Your opinions are always valued. And the fact that we can think of these ideas and they'll actually get kind of implemented and used is a really big one. And I think that you're the same, that you kind of agree with me there.
Definitely.
Perfect. That's great. So on to some more personal questions. Nothing too much, don't worry.
All right.
What do you like to do in your spare time? Do you have any kind of fun hobbies or anything like that?
Okay. So I love going to the gym. I picked up a few hobbies during lockdown, as most people did. Baking sourdough was one of them, although I still haven't quite mastered it.
That's amazing. I love bread. I shouldn't, but I love bread so
Mm.
much, and I think that you'll have to send me one sometime so I can taste test it for you.
I think it maybe kind of like 10 loaves time I've actually get the kind of the hang of it. At the
Do you
moment
know
it's
what?
not too good.
That's what hobbies are all about, though, isn't it? It's trial and
Mm.
error.
Yep,
It's just a bit like business, isn't it? Trial and error. You get it right in the
definitely.
end, but it's all a case of, trying it, seeing how it goes. But you'll
Mhm.
get it in the end. It's about
I think
perseverance,
so.
isn't it?
Definitely waking up at 5 o'clock on a Sunday morning, put it in the oven, comes out and it's just stodgy and not good. I'll get there.
Well, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? It's all part of
Uh-huh.
the fun of the hobby. And then when you get right, you'll have the best time and you'll be so happy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And now I understand why it costs so much to buy sourdough from a shop because the amount of effort that goes into it, you know?
It's made you appreciate how difficult it actually is instead of
Uh-huh.
just buying it off the shelf.
For sure.
That makes sense. Cool. And are there any kind of other hobbies that you do?
I love painting. I picked up watercolor painting over lockdown, and as soon as things started to open up a bit more, exploring London again, kind of rediscovering parts I hadn't been to before, or that kind of thing.
That's amazing. Well, I was just telling you the other day that I have just come back from London with my friends, and you're so right. I mean, I've been to London a few times now, and every single time you don't do the same thing twice,
Hmm.
apart from, the classic touristy things. You have to go and see Buckingham Palace for the 330th time. But no, you don't do the same thing. There's just so much new to do every single time you're there. So,
Hmm. Yeah,
I think Laura, I'm not sure if you said it, but you live in London, don't you? So you kind of get
yeah,
to see the full value of it. It's
yeah,
amazing.
definitely. Even more so in summer because there's so many cool things to do in this London summer.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of different things that aren't always about. So it's the most beautiful
Hmm.
place.
For sure.
You're lucky. That's amazing. Cool.
Cool.
Perfect. And last question for you for the day is, it's a classic one. It's a cringy one. It had to be said. What is a fun fact about you?
Oh, I'm a black belt in Taekwondo.
There we go. Wow, that's a very fun fact. Mine would be something like, oh, I've got cats. That's the most fun thing about me. So that's a really good one. That's amazing. Guys, I was just saying to Laura earlier, this is making me this is going to make me learn so much about her. And
Uh-huh.
I've learned so much. Black belt in Taekwondo, that's amazing. And she's got some cool hobbies. So this has been us learning and me learning about you as well. So it's been really interesting to hear all about kind of what you do for Jameson Law, what your hobbies are, kind of why you decided to go down this route, and we're really excited to have you on the team. I
Thank
hope
you.
you join the podcast. How did you find the podcasting today, Laura?
Yeah, not too bad.
Good.
Enjoyable.
Perfect. I'm really glad. It's a fun one, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Cool. Well, is there anything else you'd like to let anyone know while we're here, or do you think we're all good?
I think we're all good.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for listening, and thank you to our lovely guest, Laura, for joining us today. Joining us for our next episode next week, and we will see you then. Goodbye, everyone.
If you'd like to hear more about the Legal Leverage Framework and access some free resources, including free guides and trainings, pop over to our website, which is jamesonlaw.legal, and click on free resources. We hope you've enjoyed today's podcast. Tune in to our next episode to learn more about how to grow and scale your business the right way.